Hi, and welcome back to the Biblically Inspired Life. Recently, Baruch and I were in Cleveland, Tennessee, and one of the topics that he touched on is that we are to be overcomers. Now, if you think about the fact that we are to overcome, what is it that we are to be overcomers in relation to? And that would be persecution and tribulation and various hardships. So I started looking in the Bible in different places where it talked about being overcomers, and I have a couple of verses that I wanted to share with you. The first one is in 1 John 4:4, and that says, "Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." And 1 John 5:4 says, "For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith." Who is he that overcometh the world? But he that believeth that Yeshua is the Son of God. So I think it's really important for us to realize that we are going to encounter difficulties in this life as we follow the Lord and we follow His Word. Now, I also, though, at the same time, I want to talk to you about Romans 12:18, which says, "If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men." Now, I have spoken to a lot of people who, over time, have decided to study God's Word and implement it more into their lives. And what they find out is, as they seek to do that, they encounter pushback. They encounter some types of persecution from family and friends and co-workers. Now, I think people expect the world to not understand our commitment to the Lord and how we want to live differently. But I think a lot of people are really surprised and taken off guard when it comes to the types of response they receive from family and friends. But I want to encourage you today. Yes, you're going to have those people who are close to you who don't want anything to do with the Lord or the type of lifestyle that you're living. But that does not mean that they have to be totally cut off from you. I think one of the most extreme cases that we see in the Bible is where it tells us for someone who is a believer who is married to a non-believer, if that non-believer will live with you, you are to stay with him or her. And that is the closest earthly relationship that you can have. So I want to encourage you that there are ways to bridge that gap and live peaceably with many of these people. Now, one thing that I've done is, as I get closer to different friends or whatever, I explain to them one time about something in my lifestyle, whether it be Shabbat, that seems to be a big one, or some of the different biblical feasts and festivals, and my observance of them. I tend to explain them to this individual so that they understand. And then when that comes up again, instead of saying, "I don't do this on Shabbat, I don't do that on Shabbat," I encourage them to do the activity with me at another time. So I'll say, "Well, I can't do it on Saturday during the day, but I would love to get together with you Saturday night for a cup of tea and to have some conversation." So something along those lines is something that you can do. Another thing that I want to tell you about, a situation with a dear friend of ours, is she was convicted that Easter, as Christianity has embraced, is just really not biblical. Even the name comes from the pagan god of fertility. and the Easter eggs and the bunnies and all that goes along with that is pagan. So she decided to discuss this with her pastor's wife, and then to say, I'm no longer going to be celebrating that at the church because I feel that it is not biblical, and instead we focus on Passover and how Yeshua has been our Passover lamb. And so she explained that very nicely, and over time the pastor's wife called her up and said, you know, I need you to explain to me again what you said about Easter, what you said about Resurrection Sunday. I would love to hear what you and your family are doing. And she was able to share with that pastor's wife. And you know what happened? That church now teaches about Passover and Yeshua and the death, burial, and resurrection and how that relates to Passover. So I'd really like to encourage you today, where it says in the Bible, as much as possible for us to live peaceably with all men, that we really make that extra effort. Yes, we want to share the truth with people, and we do not want to compromise. But on the other hand, by cutting people off, we're not going to be able to influence them and encourage them in the right way. So I just would like to encourage you today to pray for those people who are persecuting you for your walk with the Lord, and ask the Lord how you can be a positive influence on them for His good and for His walk with the Lord, and for him to draw closer to the Lord. Thanks for joining me today. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.